Zack Films is one of the fastest growing YouTubers at the moment, even beating Mr. Beast. The informative animations he produces garners millions of views, but among all of the short videos he uploaded, there were a few where he made a mistake. However, the way he handled them is probably far different than you think. In spring 2022, Zack decided to scrutinize a magician who calls himself Special Head. You may have seen this guy before. He appeared on several TV shows, notably America's Got Talent, where he showed his most famous trick. Wrapped in a rope, he stood on a carpet holding a stick in his hand in front of the judges. Special Head started humming on a low note, and his feet suddenly ascended from the ground and started levitating in the air. The magician clutched only his left hand to the cane and he was floating. Everyone in the room was bulging their eyes out. How did this bizarre-looking guy manage to do this? Zack thought he figured it out and revealed the trick in one of his videos. He claimed there was a metal base hiding under the carpet. The magician took his cane and joined it with the base. Additionally, the trickster's sleeve should have been concealing a rod that would connect to the staff. This mechanism should have allowed the magician to lift his leg using his core strength. But that was not the case, as Special Head pointed out in his comment. A few days later, the magician released a response TikTok debunking Zack's theory. He levitated using his cane again. After that, he took off his rope and showed there was no harness on his back. The magician's back was naked under the t-shirt, thus breaking YouTuber's explanation. Zack uploaded a new short video, confessing that his assumption was not correct.
A few days ago, I showed you how this trick was done, and I was wrong. This is how I originally explained it. Cane, base, rods, back brace, harness. All that's left for the magician to do is use his core strength to pull his legs up. Well, this magician, known as Special Head, left a comment on my TikTok. He also made a response video proving that my theory is wrong. There appears to be no base or harness. In fact, Special Head has some other videos online where he just touches someone's head and levitates. So what's going on here? What's the real explanation to this trick? The answer is that
Zack Films handled the situation well by admitting his mistake instead of doubling down on a false explanation. A lot of content creators, especially in the debunking niche, tend to stick to their claims even when proven wrong, so it's refreshing to see someone openly acknowledge their error. That being said, it also highlights the risk of confidently presenting theories as facts without solid proof. While Zack's initial guess was reasonable based on typical magician techniques, Special Head's response showed how easy it is to misjudge illusions. This whole situation actually worked in Zack's favor. Owning up to mistakes builds credibility, and it likely boosted engagement as people appreciate honesty. In the end though, the real mystery remains. How does Special Head actually pull off the levitation?
that I have no idea.
However, his next short video got him far more comments highlighting his mistake. On January 2023, Zack uploaded a short video clarifying the renaming of the popular fast food chain KFC. He stated that the company was initially named Kentucky Fried Chicken, but 30 years ago the firm had to switch to KFC.
30 years ago, Kentucky Fried Chicken changed their name to KFC, and the reason they did this is not what you think. You see, the rumor was that they wanted to nix the word fried for health reasons, but it turns out that wasn't true. The actual reason they changed their name was because of Kentucky, the state. You see, in order to make more money, the state decided to trademark the word Kentucky. This meant that anyone who used the word would have to pay licensing fees. Kentucky Fried Chicken refused to pay and changed their name instead.
However, this wasn't the true story. A lot of fans knew this, and suddenly a bunch of comments started appearing saying that Zack messed up. YouTuber looked at the resources and found where the flaw came from. During his research, he found a news website called Snopes. There, he stumbled upon an article stating Kentucky licensed their name. Unfortunately, Zack didn't read the rating of this write-up. It was branded with a rating of Lost Legend. Snopes created the repository of Lost Legends, T-Roll for short. This repository is a collection of fictional stories that are often mistaken for real events. The editors at Snopes created these articles with the sole purpose of trolling people. Like many others, Zack fell for it and became a victim of their joke. He admitted his fault and expressed his regret for the misinformation in a new short just a few days later, hoping to set the record straight.
A few days ago, I posted a video about why Kentucky Fried Chicken changed their name to KFC, and my explanation was wrong. You see, I explained that the name change was KFC's way of nixing the word Kentucky so they wouldn't have to pay licensing fees. But after posting this video, I noticed some of the comments were claiming I was full of so I retraced my steps and found where I went wrong. You see, I got this information from a Snopes article, but I didn't realize that Snopes had rated this article as Lost Legend. A Lost Legend rating is their way of trolling people, and I fell for it.
Nonetheless, this was far from the last controversy that Zack found himself in. In another short video from August 2024, Zack looked into an unusual trial.
A man claimed he found a dead mouse inside a can of Mountain Dew he was drinking, so he sued the SOA's parent company, PepsiCo. PepsiCo argued that Mountain Dew's highly acidic formula would actually dissolve a mouse body into a jelly-like substance before anyone could ever even notice it in the can. This odd defense left consumers worrying about what the soda really does to the human body if it can liquefy a mouse.
Another YouTuber, Edward Pinzaro, decided to test Zack's short after watching it. He took a toy mouse, chicken breast, and a real dead mouse, sealed them in 3 jars filled with Mountain Dew, and left them there for a whole month. Edward declared that the green liquid was in fact quite acidic and was interested in what the soda bath would do to the meat. After a long wait, he opened the jars.
Honestly, I don't know which one is which.
Meaning you'll see my first reaction to the results.
Let's see what happened to this one. Oh, that's the chicken.
It looked normal from afar, but
Oh, it's very malleable.
the acidity broke down the soft organic tissue of the chicken, making it very easy to tear apart. Then came jar 2.
3, 2, 1. Is that the actual rat?
It looked normal, but when I grabbed it,
Oh my god. I don't even know if I'm like...
it split in 2. In the toy mouse,
Hey, look at that. He survived perfectly.
See, Zack wasn't really that wrong on this one. He was just taking words from PepsiCo's mouth. The question is, how long does it take for Mountain Dew to get from the factory to the shop's shelves? But the most confusing mistake Zack made is related to the Monty Hall problem. You may not know the name, but I bet most of you have already heard about this brain teaser. In analogy, concerning a new car and 2 goats. The question usually goes like this. There is a guy who asks you to pick one of 3 doors. Behind one of them is a brand new sports car, and behind the next 2 are goats. Let's say you picked number 1. The guy reveals that there was a goat behind door number 3. Should you switch your pick to number 2 or stick to your guts with 1? Probability answers that switching increases your chances to 2/3, and staying with your first choice would bring you only to 1/3. In his video, Zack tried to explain
Zack D Film seems to have a pattern of making bold claims based on research that isn't always as thorough as it should be. The KFC name change mistake is a perfect example of how misinformation can spread quickly, even when the intent is just to inform. The fact that Snopes intentionally created the Lost Legends section to troll people makes it even trickier, but it also serves as a lesson. Always verify sources beyond a single website. The Mountain Dew lawsuit, on the other hand, isn't entirely Zack's fault. He was simply reporting what PepsiCo stated, and while the experiment by Edward Pinzaro confirmed some aspects of the claim, it raises more questions about how long the soda would take to actually dissolve something. This one's more about the weird reality of what people consume rather than a serious research blunder. The Monty Hall problem is where things get more interesting. If Zack got that one wrong, it shows how even basic probability can trip people up. The correct answer is well established. Switching doors does improve the chances of winning, but it's a counterintuitive concept that even experts have debated. If Zack fumbled the explanation, it's likely because it's easy to misunderstand rather than outright misinformation. Zack's willingness to admit mistakes is respectable, but it also highlights the risk of making quick, flashy videos without deep research. With his massive audience, these errors can spread fast, and while he corrects them, the damage is often already done.
how this probability split works. Instead of doors, he used a bomb analogy with 3 different colored wires.
Imagine you're trying to deactivate a bomb with a red, yellow, and blue wire. Now, one of these wires is the correct option, and snipping it will stop the bomb from exploding. But the other 2 wires will cause the bomb to go off if they're snipped. You choose the yellow wire, but before you snip it, you learn that the red wire would detonate the bomb. So now you must choose between yellow or blue. And you might assume that it doesn't matter because it's 50-50, but that's not actually the case. In the beginning, each wire had a 1/3 chance of being correct. When you chose yellow, the other 2 wires had a combined chance of 2/3. And when red was identified as the wrong wire, the odds didn't actually change, they were just reflected onto the blue wire, which means your chances are better if you switch to blue.
But Zack's interpretation of the Monty Hall problem wasn't accurate. The information that the red wire would cause the explosion to go off was independent of the man choosing yellow wire. But that can't be the case. For the Monty Hall problem to work, the red wire must be revealed as the wrong one after the yellow wire is chosen. Zack recreated the video. Now, instead of the piece of paper, there is a camera through which the bomb manufacturer observes the action. Just before snipping the yellow wire, a text appears on the phone with information about the red wire. In this scenario, the Monty Hall problem is explained correctly. In a comment pinned to both the old and new version of the video, he described where he made the mistake. As we can see, Zack made a few hiccups along the way. He has now released over 1,300 shorts. It is admirable that he didn't do more mistakes. Also, you can't forget his humble apologies, which sadly are not that common on YouTube.
Zack's attempt to explain the Monty Hall problem using a bomb analogy was creative, but his initial mistake shows how tricky probability can be, even for someone making educational content. The issue was that in his first version, the revelation of the red wire's danger was independent of the initial choice, which breaks the logic of the Monty Hall setup. His correction, adding an observer who reveals the red wire after the choice, fixed the explanation. What stands out here is Zack's willingness to acknowledge his errors and correct them. In the fast-paced world of short-form content, where many creators prioritize engagement over accuracy, it's refreshing to see someone take responsibility for their mistakes. With 1,300 shorts and only a handful of missteps, his track record is actually quite impressive. The bigger takeaway is how misinformation, even when unintentional, spreads so easily. Zack's habit of making quick videos based on single sources or flawed reasoning highlights the need for more thorough research. But at least he sets an example of how to handle mistakes properly, which is something many other YouTubers fail to do.